this video, I will show you how to replace the flush mechanism of a standard modern toilet. We have a non-functioning tank like this. The mechanism has completely failed due to the impact of high water temperature. Some elements are completely warped, twisted, like the water supply valve, and all of this needs to be replaced. Additionally, the gasket that is located between the toilet and the flush tank is leaking. We will replace it with a rubber one because it is made of thin, non-heat resistant material. First of all, it is necessary to dismantle the old flush mechanism, the flush valve, the fill valve, and disconnect the flush tank. Under the second part of the toilet, we remove all the pods as they are unscrewed. And we will proceed to unscrewing these two bolts, which are fastened at the bottom with wing nuts. There is a rubber gasket and a regular metal washer here. We do the same on the other side. And we dismantle the flush tank simply by pulling it upwards. Now let's look at the contents of the flush tank kit. According to the instruction manual, there is an inlet valve and an outlet valve, and all the fittings. And again, the main button, the outlet valve assembly. The water release valve. There are two gaskets. One is made of rubber, the other of foam, which is installed between the tank and the toilet body. There are long nuts. With gaskets that attach the flush tank to the toilet, first you need to replace the gaskets, and if necessary, all the bolts as well. The attachments of the flush tank to the toilet, here, you can unscrew with a 10mm wrench, or simply by hand if your attachment is very loose. A rubber gasket is also put on here with an electrical washer to avoid crushing the toilet when tightening the nut. This is the appearance of these nuts. The rubber is slightly cracked and dried out. We'll replace it with new ones. We're changing the gaskets, the conical ones, to new ones. But we're keeping the old nuts because the new set comes with these plastic disposable nuts that can crack if overheated. So we're keeping the regular 10mm nuts. I'll leave it like that as well. The metal washers, which are also made of metal, but the set includes very small and unreliable washers. We tighten these nuts well with a wrench. So that the conical gasket inside fits snugly into its seating place. Now we install the new fill valve in the toilet. Don't forget to place the gasket here. It should be positioned in the toilet sideways. With this adjustment, rod facing outward, you can place it here so it doesn't interfere with the fill valve. And on this side, carefully screw on the plastic nut with slight force to avoid cracking it. And now it's necessary to put the fill valve back in place. Don't forget to place the small filter here. If necessary, it can be removed and cleaned. Put this on the rubber gasket. and place it back in its position. It should be positioned so that ensure that the adjustment rod and valve absolutely do not touch to ensure complete separation. And screw on the plastic nut by hand. The gasket between the toilet and the tank is already slightly compressed, so we will replace it with a dense rubber one, which is more rigid and it will withstand higher temperatures. Fit it tightly onto the plastic nut. Now the tank is ready for installation on the toilet. Carefully place it in position, trying not to break anything. Here it is preliminarily in place. All that's left is to tighten at the bottom. The wing nuts on the stud after putting on the rubber gaskets and metal washers. First put on the rubber gasket, then the metal washer, and tighten with the wing nut. The nuts must be tightened evenly to prevent the tank from tilting and to avoid water leaks. Now connect the hose supplying water to the inlet valve. There is a plastic thread here, so try to turn it carefully to avoid damaging it. Now it's important to adjust the water column in the flush tank. Using this rod, I adjusted the level to the old setting, as it was in the previous tank. This is removed. The rod is placed higher or lower along this float. Now it's necessary to set the flush. Now the water level in the tank has stabilized. I had to slightly raise this frame so that the button would reach its thread. It is adjusted by pressing the tab on both sides, left and right on the clips, and now it is in place. It is also necessary to adjust this rod so that when the button is fully pressed, it opens all the way up. And now the lid can be placed back in its position. Here we slightly adjust the central position of the rod and screw the button into it. Let's check how the toilet works. The flush works well. There is enough water, and when the tank fills, the water supply A is cut off.